Das fehlt eine Stunde. Ups. Entschuldigung, das war falsch. Sekunde mal, warte. Ja, ich hab's falsch eingegeben. Ja, Moment. Was ist das jetzt? Ich bin doch nicht beim Hauptmenü. Okay, kann ich kurz was sagen, bevor wir loslegen? Danke, dass du die Uhrzeit beide Male eingestellt hast, nachdem du das Spiel gestartet hast. Wir nehmen diesen Schritt nicht ernst. Sie belassen die Uhrzeit einfach bei 12 Uhr und lassen gut sein. Aber du musst da tatsächlich die Mühe, die Uhrzeit einzustellen, das weiß ich zu. Aber es war falsch! Es tut mir leid! Okay, ja. So, kann gar nicht wissen, ob die von dir eingestellten Uhrzeiten korrekt sind. Oh, Gott sei Dank. Pass auf, ich habe einen Vorschlag für dich. Da, weil der Disc vom Spiel. Ich bin mal echt gespannt, was jetzt kommt. Da du so kooperativ warst, kannst du bei deinem nächsten Spielstart, wenn du diesen Bildschirm siehst, einfach deine Lieblingszeit einstellen. Mach nur und nimm einfach die Uhrzeit, die du willst. Okay. Ja? Guck mal. Schon voll was verdient hier. Ja. Spiel weiter. Okay. Dieses Spiel einfach, wenn du einfach nur öffnest. Klasse. Gut, wir gehen rein. Wir waren ja bei Teil 2. Wir hin uns noch. Was ist deine Lieblingsuhrzeit? Also ich hätte jetzt tatsächlich 20 Uhr eingegeben, so. Wir gehen mit Streaming abends. Finde ich eine gute Uhrzeit.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them.
Mittag 12:30 ist auch eine geile
This
Uhrzeit.
is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Gut, das kennen wir noch, ne?
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget.
Ich finde den Sprecher
He
richtig
had
gut.
been at his desk for nearly
Wahrscheinlich
an
letztes Mal
hour
auch schon
when he
gesagt.
realized that not one
Oh. Ach, das können wir überspringen. Okay, gut. Genau, die Ballons, die wir uns ausgesucht hatten, ne? Oder eher nicht ausgesucht hatten. Meeting today in the meeting room. Okay. Also so sah das aber das letzte Mal nicht aus hier. Ich warte ja immer noch auf Jumpscares. Ich traue es dem Spiel irgendwie zu, dass da noch irgendwann was kommt. Sind wir letztes Mal nicht auch mal hier lang gegangen?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
Ja, wir gehen
he
links
entered
rum.
the door on his left.
Diesmal gehen wir wirklich zum Meeting Room, okay? Hierher. Ah! Stimmt. Bis hier sind wir, glaube ich, letztes Mal auch noch gelaufen. Und gesagt haben, wir wollen alle Figuren sammeln. Ein paar hatten wir, glaube ich, schon. Ein paar hatten wir doch schon, oder?
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got
Nix?
back on track.
Dachte, hier wäre eine Figur. Oh, Menno.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley
Müssen
walked
wir hoch oder runter?
upstairs to his boss's office.
Ich glaube, wir gehen runter. Oben haben wir doch schon eingesammelt. Du musst doch alle Sammelobjekte finden. Ha! Seht ihr mal.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines. And now I'm torn between Stanley.
Ist leise, glaube ich, der Sprecher, oder?
What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by one?
Lief ihn auf. Ja,
I'm
eigentlich
sure it
schon.
will come
Eigentlich
to me.
schon. Dann Sprecher ein bisschen lauter, oder? Zähler. Ich hoffe, es passt.
But Stanley just couldn't do it.
Also unten war das, wo es dunkel wird eigentlich und wo man immer im Kreis läuft,
admitting
ne?
he had left his post during work hours. He
Aber nur
might
eine
be
Figur
fired
finden.
for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real.
Ja, Erzähler, das kennen wir schon.
He came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then
bin ich den langen Weg gegangen. Ich glaube, das war eine doofe Idee. Kann das sein? Wenn das alles genauso passiert?
He hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Ich glaube, das war eine schlechte
Now the voice
Entscheidung.
was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's
Ist doof, ne?
asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself?
Shit.
Stanley is as awake right now
Gibt auch
as
viele
he's
Enden, die du
ever
machen
been
kannst.
in his life.
Ja, vor allem dieses
Now, hearing the voice speak
Teil
these
2
words was quite a
quasi.
shock to Stanley.
Lief ja auch ganz
After all,
anders ab.
He knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was
Deshalb
in
dachte
fact
ich
a
eigentlich, dass hier
dream.
unten auch was
Did the
anderes
voice not
passiert.
see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin.
Wir müssen aber halt die Sammelobjekte finden. Die können ja überall sein, ne?
The fresh air of a world outside this one.
Überall.
Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife.
Die müssen. Natürlich müssen. Da muss 6 von 6 stehen. Das muss so sein.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Wir haben übrigens jetzt auf der Arbeit den Jogginghosen-Freitag durch den Eisfreitag ersetzt. Finde ich voll gut. Weil für Jogginghose ist es gerade zu warm. Und jetzt essen wir mal Eis. Wie voll geil.
Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Und glaube ich das mit der Wohnung, wo ich einmal schon so ewig stand und nicht drücken wollte.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town
Stelle können wir einen Jogginghosen-Freitag weiter
and then collapsed dead on the
Wäre auch eine
sidewalk.
Möglichkeit,
And
stimmt.
although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just
Ja,
a
mal
few
gucken.
brief moments, she considered the
Ich überlegt,
strange
ob wir irgendwie
man.
was anderes machen.
He was obviously crazy. This much she
Vielleicht so ein
knew.
Nerd-Shirt
Everyone
Freitag,
knows
weißt
what
diese
crazy people
so
look
Gaming-Shirt oder
And in
sowas
that
anziehen.
moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal.
Irgendwie sowas.
I
Mal
am
gucken.
sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't.
Wenn ich
It
dir einen
was
Tipp geben, was du machen
comforting to
könntest,
think
mein
this,
anderes.
and
Ja,
in a
gerne,
certain way,
gerne, gerne.
seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect
Ich glaube,
her
in ein paar
career,
Richtungen sind wir
and
auch
by
gar nicht
extension,
gelaufen.
the rest of her life.
Vielleicht auch noch machen, ne?
She had no time for this.
Und wir
So
müssen
it was
noch
only a moment that she stood
am
there,
Ende, wo
staring
dieses
down at the
Stromding
body.
ist, da hatten wir doch
And
auch
then
zwei
she turned and
Möglichkeiten.
ran.
Das müssen wir auch noch machen. War doch was, oder? Ich glaub, da war... Ich dachte, jetzt kommt das in der Wohnung, aber es kommt ja gar nicht.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Gut.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Memo. Ich finde das Memo immer so gut. Problem ist the Memo. Help me. So, Raphael, jetzt warte
When
ich kurz.
Stanley came to a set of two
Weil ich
open
jetzt durch die
doors,
falsche gehe?
he entered the door on his left.
Get well someday, get well. Sieh? Das ist Telefon klingelt und der Erzähler meint, dass du rangehen solltest, weil deine Frau anruft. Ah, okay. Aber ich weiß gar nicht mal, wie die... Rechts, okay. Wie die Situation kam.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
Genau,
as Stanley knew
rechts sind wir
perfectly
nämlich
well.
nicht alle Wege lang
Perhaps he
gelaufen,
wanted to stop
glaube
by
ich.
the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly
So,
a room
das kennen wir
worth
schon.
admiring.
Oh, ich muss
It had
nach
really been
Figuren
worth the
gucken.
detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room.
Nix da.
Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the
So,
first open
jetzt haben
door
wir
on his
Möglichkeit
left.
geradeaus oder links. Links war dieser... Ich weiß gar nicht, aber geradeaus war dieser Aufzug, der drüber fährt, wo wir einmal runtergesprungen sind. Aber da ging es da weiter? Wie sind wir da weitergegangen? Ich weiß es gar nicht mehr genau. Und hier war quasi... Da sind wir mit dem Aufzug runter. Das haben wir doch auch gemacht. Geradeaus. Gut.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
Geronimo! Nein, natürlich nicht. Keycard. Brauchen wir die Keycard? Keycard. So. Wenn ich tot bin, müssen ich 5.000 zahlen.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm
Drüben war ich
not.
aber auch noch nicht,
I
oder?
realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that
Das
the
ist
story
Sammelfigur!
has been about
Nein!
nothing
Nein!
but you
Stopp!
all this
Scheiße!
time. There's someone you've
Scheiße!
been
Wie komme ich da hin?
neglecting,
Wie komme ich da hin?
Someone you've forgotten about.
Wo springen? Nee, man kann nicht springen.
Stop
Ich muss da
trying to
unten
make
irgendwie
every
durch.
decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Okay, wie komme ich da hin? Aber man kann ja nicht springen. Ich kann da ja nicht. Und hier, da bin ich tot. Das bringt mir nichts. Von hier hinten, von den, über den Zaun kann ich auch nicht springen. Ah. Ich hätte rechtzeitig runterspringen müssen, dann wäre meine Mitte gewesen, ne? Jetzt ist es zu spät. Ja, stimmt. Shit! Kannst du mal zurückfahren? Beim nächsten Mal. Und Mist, Mist, Mist!
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself.
Mano!
To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Lass mich hier durch. Ich will doch die Sammelfigur. Wow.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this.
Was ist denn mit dem
To reach
Telefon?
out to her. If you can
Muss
truly
Stecker ziehen?
place your... Oh, no, you can't... Did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check.
Geil.
No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll
Wir haben uns einander
credits.
versprochen? Das weiß ich
Picking
nicht
up the
mehr.
phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making.
Dieser Sprecher ist so gut.
The
Echt,
severity
ich
of the
finde es so klasse.
situation. Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Nee, oder?
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day.
8 Entscheidungen.
make more
Merkt
than
euch.
8,
8 Entscheidungen
less.
pro Tag.
And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Welcome back.
Hi.
You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of
Klaus, oder
narrative
wie?
contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Kann ich jetzt wieder was anderes machen? Das wäre jetzt witzig, oder? Aber ich glaube. Okay. Wieso hat er jetzt einen Zaun? Wieso hat er jetzt einen Zaun? Jetzt komme ich nicht runter.
We can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story.
Habe ich schon gemacht, ja?
That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Jetzt am liebsten runtergesprungen, weil er es gerade so schön gesagt hat, bloß nicht runterspringen. Oh, mein Sammelobjekt ist eh nicht da. Okay, wir müssen dem Weg gerade folgen.